Some of you out there are probably familiar with the Redmagic brand. They do make some pretty high-end Android gaming phones that put down some great performance. But recently, they wanted to dip their toes into the PC market, so they released a brand new gaming laptop known as the Redmagic Titan 16 Pro. On paper, the new Titan 16 Pro definitely looks like it's going to be a pretty stout laptop. We've got a 24-core, 32-thread CPU paired up with RTX graphics. Of course, they had to throw a little bit of RGB at this, or it wouldn't be a real gaming laptop. Around the back here, we've got that Redmagic logo, backlit RGB. Also has a 4-zone backlit RGB keyboard. I actually really like the layout here. We've also got a glass-covered trackpad, which is something I love to see in these gaming laptops. Just makes for a much smoother experience. The whole laptop is constructed of aluminum. We've got a 16-inch, 2.5K, 240 Hz IPS display with up to 500 nits of brightness. I do think they should have added a bigger trackpad here. I mean, there's plenty of room, and I do love those oversized trackpads. Don't get me wrong, what they've got here does work just fine. That glass cover on it, super smooth experience. It works out great, but I just love having a much larger trackpad on a laptop like this. It wouldn't be complete without software to control the performance and RGB, so they've added their Gopher software here. This is actually the same thing we can find over on the Redmagic phones, so a lot of this kind of goes hand in hand, and you can always install the Redmagic suite. That way you can connect your device here and kind of put it into console mode. When it comes to I/O, over here on the left-hand side, we've got a full-size USB 3.2 Gen 2 port and a full-size SD UHS 2.0 reader. Moving over to the right-hand side, another full-size USB 3.2. This is a Gen 1 port, and we've got a 3.5mm audio jack. Of course, around back, we've got our power input. Thunderbolt 4, it is running at a 40 gig protocol. Full-size HDMI 2.1, another full-size USB port. This is 3.2 Gen 2, and Gigabit Ethernet. When it comes to the overall specs of the new Redmagic Titan 16 Pro, for the CPU, they opted to use the Intel Core i7-14900HX. With this, we get 24 cores, 32 threads, 8 performance cores up to 5.8, and 16 efficiency cores up to 4.1. The model I have here happens to have 32 gigabytes of SODIMM DDR5 running at 5600 megahertz. We've also got the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4060, and there is rumor that a 4070 model will be releasing. But with this, we get 8 gigs of GDDR6, and this will boost up to 140 watts in this laptop. A 1 terabyte NVMe M.2 SSD, it is PCIe 4.0, 240 Hz 16-inch 2.5K 16 by 10 aspect ratio display with 100% DCI-P3, up to 500 nits of brightness, 80 watt hour battery. We've also got Wi-Fi 6E, and this does support 100 watt PD fast charging. In just a second, I'm going to jump over to my game capture so we can get a better look at everything. I want to go over the software here, but I was really excited to show off a little bit of gameplay. We've got Starfield at 1440p. DLSS is set to balanced right now. Not bad for an RTX 4060. But keep in mind, in gaming mode, this laptop variant can boost up to 140 watts, which does kind of unlock a little extra power. It's definitely one of the more powerful 4060 laptop variants on the market, and it is showing in the performance this thing's putting out. Jumping right into it here, a few things I wanted to show you. Real quick, we've got that i9-14900HX and the RTX 4060. Again, there was mention of an RTX 4070 model, but the only one I'm seeing here is the 4060 right now. We've got 8 gigs of VRAM. And there is some software here that we can take advantage of. This is their Gopher software, and this is also available over on their Redmagic phones. From the main menu here, we've got our power mode. So office mode, balanced, gaming mode. Obviously, gaming is going to give us the most performance here. Light mode, fully controllable backlit keyboard. And with this, we've actually got control over the logo in the rear, and we can separately control the Redmagic logo right there on the laptop itself. From system settings, we've got disable Windows key, max fan, and USB charging N. It's off right now, but you could charge the battery up over USB Type-C if you really wanted to. And we've also got a GPU mode selector. I've got it set to DGPU right now just because I'm plugged into wall power, but on battery, yeah, using that iGPU, or you could just go right to dynamic. We can definitely control this, and I'm going to leave it right here in office mode because one thing that they did mention over on their website is that this RTX 4060 can do 140 watts. From Furmark, just stressing it out, right here we've got our GPU power up to around 100, and we're only in office mode. So once I take this up to gaming mode, you'll see this jump up, This RTX 4060 does do up to 140 watts in this little laptop, which is pretty awesome. So we can definitely get the max performance out of this GPU here. There's one last thing that actually wasn't pre-installed. I figured it would be here, and that's the Redmagic Studio. So this is software they actually offer over on their website, and if you've got a Redmagic device, you can plug it in, go wireless or USB mode, and we can display our phone right here. I'm actually using USB 2.0. Going with 3.0 is definitely the way to go, but that's the only longest cable I had here. Full control over recording, full control over input. And yeah, this is actually pretty great because, connecting this to your device to record your screen is pretty awesome. That way you're not wasting any kind of resources on the phone itself. And of course, we can go to full screen mode. If I was to launch a game like, let's say, Minecraft, it's going to go into landscape mode for me. We'll get that full screen experience. Having Redmagic Studio pre-installed would have been pretty awesome, given that we've got another Redmagic device here, but it's easy enough to download from over on their website. Now it's time to take a look at some benchmarks, and the first one we have here is Geekbench 6. I knew this 14900HX would be putting down some great performance. Single core coming in with a 2875, multi 13603. I also ran Cinebench R24, single and multi. For the single core score, 121, and when it comes to multi, 1,361, and I was actually expecting a little higher score here over on the multi, given that we've got 24 cores and 32 threads with this laptop. But now it's time to move over to some GPU benchmarks with 3D Mark. Steel Nomad, 2,301. We've also got Time Spy with an 11,213. Given the fact that the RTX 4060 in this laptop can actually boost up to 140 watts, does give us just a little extra on the GPU side of things. Now it's time to test out some more gaming, and I've just got this plugged into my game capture. Forza Horizon 5, Ultra settings, 1440p. We don't need any kind of DLSS or resolution scaling here. This is running just fine, and I know for a fact that we can actually run this at high settings, 4K, at around 81 FPS on average. But at 1440, we're seeing an average of 117 FPS at Ultra settings with this laptop. Checking out Red Dead Redemption 2, 1440p Ultra, and with the slider bar in the settings, which is something I personally really don't like about this game, it's maxed out all the way over, but we are using DLSS set to balanced, and if we had a frame gen option with this game, it'd be really nice if they added that. We could almost double the frame rate here, but it's more than playable. And every time I get into this game at a higher resolution with those maxed out settings, I totally forget how good this game really looks. You know we had to test out Cyberpunk 2077, and with this one, we are at 1440p Ultra, no DLSS, but we are using Nvidia's frame gen. We're seeing an average of around 91 FPS with this game, frame gen on. If you don't like frame gen, you can always enable some DLSS. Around balanced, you'll see about the same kind of performance here. And finally, Horizon Forbidden West. Believe it or not, this is one of the hardest games to max out right now at the time of making this video. We're at 1440, high, DLSS, balance, and frame gen. So we are getting a pretty decent frame rate here, but if I was to disable DLSS and frame gen, we'd really only be seeing an average of around 42 FPS with this game at 1440p, and around 70 at 1080. Last thing I wanted to talk about here were CPU and GPU temps. It's actually got a pretty stout cooling system. These fans can move up to 13.8 cubic feet a minute, but in total, when this thing is maxed out in gaming mode, it can do up to 195 watts, which is going to be kind of hard to cool off inside of a laptop. But I've gone with the averages and the maxes here. So on average, while gaming, CPU temp was around 78, GPU 72. Max overall CPU temp I hit while running Cinebench R24 was actually 100C, so it did hit thermal throttle. Not while gaming, and Cinebench is one of those in the multi-core test. It's just going to max out all of those cores, and we've got 24 of them with 32 threads here. So I expected it to get pretty hot. And the fan profile that they're using here in gaming mode doesn't scream like a jet engine, I did show you that you can turn the fans on manually. You can just turn them on full blast, and this thing will make some noise, but it'll keep it nice and chilly. Given that this is their first gaming laptop, I really do think it is putting out some great performance. I personally do like the design. With the all black, it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but it is made of aluminum, so definitely keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking something like this up. Fingerprints really do show on the lid and the bottom of this unit. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look at the new Redmagic Titan 16 Pro. If you're interested in learning a little more about this laptop, I will leave some links in the description. And if there's anything else you want to see running on this thing, just let me know in the comments. But that's it for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.